So in your quest to build digital ink and a presence of value, you want to do a lot of different things. And it's not just social media, like tweeting alone won't do it. You need to try to publish articles, poems, blog posts, and more. So I'm going to show you a couple of things I did leading up to book release that helped me be successful. So this is an article that's actually a chapter excerpt, but it was published in the Quest Muscular Dystrophy Association's national magazine, which is right on with the target audience. It was very fruitful and beneficial for both them and me to have this published, but it came with pictures, and it's both digital and print, and it connected me to my audience through the comments. So I made sure I responded to each comment, built connections with some key influencers, because these are the people that I was writing for. But this I have linked on my webpage. It's my chapter excerpt, so of course I linked it on my webpage, but also on blogs multiple times, on Facebook, social media. I think it's really high traction. When I share this on social media, it always gets reshares and likes. That's because it's a powerful message, but it gives me this home base that establishes credibility, not just through me, but through Quest Muscular Dystrophy magazine. So submitting to magazines is a must. You should try to do that before release. This actually came out about a year before the book. Also, I published a poem as a Kansas Poem of the Week with the Kansas Poet Laureate. So check and see if your state has Poems of the Week. But this poem, again, is related as my picture, my family's picture, and again, comments that connect me to an audience that's interested and supportive, and especially on Twitter, where you can find groups or hashtags for poetry. This gets a lot of retweets, and in fact, this was my pinned post on Twitter for a long time, and whenever I'd add a new friend, they pretty often would retweet this for me. So in order for Twitter to work effectively, I needed something like poetry or an article published. So the key to being able to use social media well is kind of having digital ink in other places. Now this is the post that I told you about that was so effective. And I'm just going to walk you through it. So it answers a question for the audience. What is myotonic muscular dystrophy? And in answering that, I provide a service of value to my target audience. So it starts with some facts. It universalizes those facts and talks about the wider impact. And then after talking about the direct effects of the disease, it talks about how other people are affected from being related to or knowing people. And once I've established a broad range of effect, I put it into human terms and talk about myself as the daughter of a woman affected by this rare disease. And this picture is actually why I think this post was so successful. Is I had this idea at 3 a.m. to show progression of pictures of my mom as the disease moved forward in her system. And I actually would do that for my brother too down here. So it talks about the science, but it doesn't talk about the science. It points them to scientists and websites with a lot of credibility for the science, because I am an author. And while I would know some of the science, they need the sources that I am not. If somebody's looking at a rare disease, they need to go to the Myotonic Muscular Dystrophy Foundation, or Quest, or myotonic.org, which is the Myotonic Dystrophy Foundation's website, or the Muscular Dystrophy Association. An important thing about being an author and establishing an online platform is that I realize that I'm not the expert on things that I'm not the expert on. Don't pretend. Give them a service of value and give them appropriate links. But what I can do as an author is talk beyond the science about the real disease and the real effects, and how this is a story about family, relationships, the complexity of what it is to be human, diversity, resilience, and love, and that those matter more than the science in my family. So you could tell my brother would have had a lot of medical attention, a lot of science around him, but he was my brother. And then I used this video, which was created by the Myotonic Dystrophy Foundation, and it lets real people talk about living with DM, and it humanizes it, and it's beautiful. Very good video. The Myotonic Dystrophy Foundation does a wonderful job, and I am behind them 100%. But sharing that video gets them more exposure, and it helps connect people who might be interested in my story to the community, to that piece of advocacy. It's part of the platform. Honestly, it's part of my purpose, my mission. Very attached to it, so it makes it a little easier. But then you'll see a series of questions, and they're not rhetorical questions, but do you want to support families like this? You could donate to the MDF. So again, mission driven. Want to read about it, then you could read my family story here. And that's a direct attempt to sell the book, but it's a value service to families who don't have another book like that about families like theirs. And then here's why it's so effective on social media. You could either donate money to support the MDF, pay money to buy the book, or if you want to help for free, then you like or share this post. And then it gives you a reason why. Having a rare disease can feel pretty lonely in a family, but sharing the stories can make the world feel smaller, less lonely. And then to offer them a service of value, again, there's a free chapter that they can get on a reputable source, which is the Quest MDA, and then the book, which I love my cover. I think it's very visually appealing. It's intriguing. It's homey. It talks about or indicates that there's science in it, but family in it. I advertise my cover anytime I can because I think it's so well designed that it speaks for itself. And then there's a final link there. But the reason that this is so successful online that some people would miss is the call to action to share the post in order to create community. So in building your platform, having an online realm and building that digital ink both through social media, articles, publications, you want to have a Goodreads presence too before release. So find beta readers, build an author page on Goodreads, and you can actually gather reviews there before release. So I could send this off to somebody in the community, I could send it off to a doctor, I could send it off to family members, other authors, and I can have reviews ready for day one of release. That trusting a first-time author is a little dicey in a world where there's like 4 billion books online, but readers trust readers, and if you can get a presence on Goodreads and get reviews, you're winning. So I suggest to you that you explore Goodreads for From My Mother. And there's the link, but you can just go to Goodreads and type in From My Mother and find it. But reviews are really important. I started with, I think, 6 or 7 on the day of release or the week of release. It's hard to remember. But now there's over 40. And those reviews really help the story spread. So if you want to give a favor to the author who is giving their marketing tips away, I would really appreciate it if you read my book and reviewed on Goodreads. I'd see your name there, and I'd owe you a debt and be very thankful, and I might have a marketing tip for you in the future. So authors help authors, but that's one way you could help me is reviewing online. So if you want to be a writer, you need marketing skills in the modern era, because you could write a great text and plop it online, but unless it has the reach to get to the right audience, it probably just gets plopped online and not too much interaction. And you want interaction. So as a writer, you just need to accept. You need some marketing skills, and that takes some time investment and some willingness to learn. So if you want to be a writer, it's also a great idea to apply for grants. It's especially true for nonfiction authors, but I did get a $3,000 grant with the Horizon Aspiring Artist Grant from the Salina Arts and Humanities Commission, and that made things a lot more possible because that's how I built my website. That's how I got a writing coach for my proposal. And it helped me launch my initial advertising as well. So when I talk to you about marketing, I do have a little bit of advantage on cost containment because I got to start with some money, but applying for grants is a great idea. So if you want reach, you need to be present. Present means in the moment, timely. Scheduling posts is awesome, but you need to start thinking about how social media can be used for you in the moments of your daily life, in your platform, but you need to be present, you need to be active. Posting once a month will not help you. So to be present, you can join groups, you can find blogs to guest post on. Multi-author blogs are a great way to find new readers, find people to interview you. Authors have blogs of interviewing authors. That's a great place to start. And even if it doesn't get you a lot of book sales from the original interview, you can post that on your social media, link it on your website, and seem like a big deal. And truthfully, in the author world, if you fake it till you make it, you kind of got to seem like you're credible before people think you're credible. So strut it like you got it, find people to interview you, and link it all over the place. And also you want to interact on key reader websites like Goodreads or Amazon. There's other options out there, but those are 2 very high traction areas to go. So the social media mediums that are most fruitful for me are Twitter. and my Twitter audience is very different than my Facebook audience, but my Twitter friends are almost all on Goodreads. My Facebook friends are people that I've met in real life or have an attachment to because of a common issue or bond, particularly with the rare disease in my family. And then the Instagram is a very visual format, and it's less easy to post there as a writer because really graphic designers would thrive there, but your pictures are the most important part of Instagram. So if you want the easy route, go to Facebook first, Twitter second, and Instagram third. And I have things like my Instagram account. If I put something on Instagram, if this, then that, will automatically post it to my Pinterest page. So there's ways to link your social media, and that makes it much more effective. And while there are other forms of social media, these are the three I invest in the most, and some smaller ones that are automatically attached to these by media linking sites.